In the days before Christmas, Ottawa sent shockwaves through North America. Canadian Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly, backed by Prime Minister Trudeau, unveiled a $500 million strategic investment in Canada's steel industry. This wasn't a routine subsidy. It was a bold move to shield Canada from unpredictable U.S. trade policy, especially with the possibility of Trump's return. The message: Canada would no longer be at the mercy of American protectionism. The timing was calculated, catching Washington off guard as it focused on domestic politics. Joly's announcement was a direct response to years of trade uncertainty and tariff threats from the U.S. Ottawa had learned. Economic self-reliance is now a necessity. For decades, North America thrived on integrated supply chains and free trade. Joly's move challenges that, signaling a future where strategic industries like steel are protected at home. The investment is both a hedge against future disruptions and a declaration of Canadian independence, even if it means friction with the U.S. The $500 million commitment aims to modernize Canadian steel, making it greener and less dependent on American markets. The decision was made in secret, maximizing surprise and limiting U.S. pushback. Joly and Trudeau acted first, ready to manage the fallout later. To grasp Canada's move, look back to Trump's presidency. Trump's America First doctrine led to a 25% tariff on steel imports, including from Canada, citing national security. The tariff shocked the global economy and strained U.S.-Canada relations. Canada retaliated, sparking a costly trade dispute. Though the tariffs were lifted, the damage lingered, trust was eroded, and uncertainty became the new normal. The threat of renewed tariffs never disappeared, leaving Canadian businesses on edge. The precedent: any industry could be targeted under vague security claims. This vulnerability pushed Canada to seek a permanent solution. Joly's $500 million investment is a direct response to the memory of economic coercion. Canada is signaling it won't be held hostage by U.S. trade threats. By boosting domestic capacity, Canada aims to reduce reliance on the U.S. and fortify its industry. The old rules of North American trade are gone. Canada's move marks the start of a new era of strategic competition and self-defense. The decision came from the top, Joly and Trudeau's cabinet. The $500 million will come from a strategic innovation fund to strengthen key industries. Officially, it's about securing economic sovereignty and leading in green tech. The money targets two fronts: modernizing steel mills and investing in low-carbon production. Upgrading facilities in places like Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie will make Canadian steel more efficient and resilient to U.S. tariffs. The goal: a self-sufficient industry that can thrive even if U.S. access is restricted. The offensive strategy is to invest in green steel, using hydrogen and carbon capture for cleaner production. This positions Canada as a future leader in premium, low-carbon steel. As global demand for green steel rises, Canada aims to capture that market. The policy is both defensive and forward-looking. Joly's office frames it as essential for climate goals and for keeping Canadian workers at the forefront of the clean economy. The move appeals to both environmental and economic concerns. Officially, it's not an attack on the U.S., but everyone knows it's a response to American protectionism. Canada is wrapping its industrial strategy in the flag of green innovation. Ottawa's reaction was mostly positive, even across party lines. Trudeau's Liberals called it vital for jobs and independence. Conservatives, wary of opposing a pro-Canada move, offered cautious support but stressed fiscal responsibility. Labor unions welcomed the investment as overdue support for industry. In Washington, the response was surprise and frustration. The timing left U.S. officials scrambling for a response. Lawmakers from steel states accused Canada of unfair subsidization. The U.S. steel lobby began preparing for possible retaliation. For Trump's camp, the move validated his America First stance but also showed his tactics had pushed Canada to build its own walls. The Biden administration faces a dilemma. They want to avoid a new trade fight but can't appear weak. Their likely first step: seek clarification from Ottawa while balancing domestic pressure. The White House must now walk a tightrope between diplomacy and defending U.S. industry. Canada's move has forced both countries to reconsider the rules of engagement. The integrated North American bloc is under strain. The era of quiet, informal cooperation is fading. Strategic autonomy is now the name of the game. The stock market reacted instantly. Shares of Canadian steel companies soared as investors saw the government's backing as a game changer. The funding for modernization and green tech promised higher profits and new opportunities. U.S. steel stocks dipped, reflecting fears of tougher competition from subsidized Canadian producers. The move signaled a new era of government-backed rivalry in North America. Manufacturers across sectors began rethinking their supply chains. Some saw opportunity in a stronger Canadian steel sector, others worried about more complexity and risk. The biggest question: does this violate the USMCA trade agreement? The US is likely to challenge the investment as an unfair subsidy, possibly triggering a formal dispute. This could be the first major test of the USMCA's ability to handle industrial policy conflicts. The outcome will shape the future of North American trade. The market's reaction is just the beginning. The real battle may play out in trade courts and boardrooms. Canada's move marks a turning point in US-Canada relations. For decades, trust and cooperation defined the partnership. Joly's unilateral action signals a shift. Canada is now prioritizing its own interests, even at the cost of friction. Expect a more formal, guarded tone in future talks. Disputes will likely be settled through legal channels, not backroom deals. This special friendship is being tested as both sides brace for more competition. Businesses and citizens will feel the impact. Thicker borders, more inspections, and new costs. The era of seamless trade is ending. Both countries may seek to reduce mutual dependence, a costly and disruptive process. Canada's move redefines what it means to be an ally in the 21st century. Middle powers like Canada are asserting their own agency. The relationship will endure, but it's now more competitive and less special. The old model is gone. A new, more cautious partnership is emerging. Canada's move is part of a global trend away from unfettered globalization. The pandemic and rising geopolitical tensions have exposed the risks of long supply chains. Major powers are embracing industrial policy, using government funds to bolster key sectors. Canada's steel investment mirrors moves by the US and EU. The World Trade Organization is losing its grip as countries justify subsidies on security or climate grounds. The result, a fragmented, competitive global trading system. Economic blocs are forming, each building its own industrial base. Even among allies, competition is intensifying. Subsidy races could distort markets and disadvantage poorer countries. International cooperation on big issues gets harder in this zero-sum environment. Canada's green steel push is clever, but the competitive impulse is clear. The world is entering a new era of geoeconomics, and Canada's move is a sign of the times. The next chapter depends on America's response. The US could challenge Canada under the USMCA, impose retaliatory tariffs, or seek a diplomatic compromise. Each path carries risks, from legal battles to trade wars. Canada must defend its policy at home and abroad, arguing it's about innovation and climate, not just protectionism. The Trudeau government will need to manage tensions without backing down. Businesses on both sides must adapt, building more resilient supply chains and factoring in political risk. The era of predictable low-cost trade is over. Some companies will struggle, others will seize new opportunities, especially in green steel. This could spark a broader rethink of North American economic ties. New rules for subsidies and collaboration may be needed. The old partnership is fracturing. The question, what comes next? Canada's $500 million steel investment is more than a trade spat. It's a sign of a changing world order. The era of US primacy and hyper-globalization is over. Nations, even close allies, are making strategic choices to protect their interests. This isn't a return to 1930s-style protectionism, but it's a clear shift to manage trade and industrial strategy. The US can no longer assume allies will always align with its interests. Years of unpredictable policy have taught partners to hedge their bets. America must now offer real partnership, not just demands. For Canada, this is both a risk and an opportunity to lead in green tech, but also to face retaliation. Success depends on wise use of public funds and careful navigation of global politics. The world is more complex. Simple free trade versus protectionism no longer applies. The US-Canada steel dispute is a microcosm of this new reality. Even the closest friends must adapt to a more competitive landscape. The era of easy assumptions is over. Hard choices lie ahead.